now turn to our studio guests, Professor Zhang Dejiang from Fudan University and Mr. Joerg Wuttke, to discuss more about the two sessions this year. So what was your major impression about Chairman Zhang Dejiang's speech there? He particularly mentioned about the charity law, which is the first in China.
Yes. Well, for foreigners, it's a lot of code language, of course, that insiders understand immediately. There are big pictures behind it. Before I come to the charity law, I think for me the most important quotation was to put people in the center. And that really is something where also poverty alleviation is coming in to not just look into GDP growth, but actually lifting people out of poverty, which China has achieved so well over the last years. And the other code words is, to me at least, implementation, meaning not just having more papers and more laws, but actually do this and restructuring. On the charity law, this is a major milestone. It comes again from this kind of fifth plenum where they said rule of law. This has to become, it is important to structure an industry that is becoming more and more bigger. We talk about 100 billion renminbi, which is around about 10 billion euro every year. And people have lost trust in many of those because the Red Cross had a scandal a couple of years ago.
Right.
And people are more willing to help society, poverty alleviation, putting people in the center, what he refers to. You need a law like this in order to cater this mood. But very important is, of course, the language. It shall not be hazy, it shall not be imprecise in order to avoid abuse. I think people are wanting to help, and the charity law comes at the right time.
Mm-hmm. And Professor Zhang, why do you think it's important to have this charity law, not only because the industry has becoming bigger and bigger, but also probably because of irregularities in the industry?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that I should mention. One is that this particular law, although you may not actually see this as a first-tier law, but actually took more than 10 years to formulate. I think in China, I think if a law actually spend a long time formulating it, it shows that there's a lot of complexity in it. And secondly, as you just mentioned, that a lot of irregularities, and also a number of the major company has been tainted. And the other thing which is that China has come of age in terms of charity as a tradition, as a culture. Actually last year, and if my figure is correct, close to 60 million people in China actually regularly involved in providing charity or charity services. So it is a very, very big undertaking. So it has to be regulated. It has to make sure that the goodwill of the people in the end will be able to help those good causes. So I think that is, although I would not consider it as a major law, but it is a law. I think in the future we will realize it is a landmark law. It will introducing and make a society better, and it will make sure people will feel that they are more encouraged to part with their money, their time, and their efforts to help others. So charity all has to start from home. Traditionally, China has a very strong and rich philanthropy and the charity organization tradition, but it was discontinued after 49. But now we have seen the revival. So this particular law certainly will put the revival in the right course. I hope so.
But help us understand the relationship between philanthropy growth in China and, of course, the well-being of the ordinary people, Mr. Wuttke.
Well, as interesting, Professor Zhang said, in 49 it stopped. Why did it stop in 49? Because the government took over, the state took over. It was the nanny state that actually looked into each and every segment of society. And the state rightfully now withdraws from that, and it leaves the space for people, for companies, for organizations, NGOs, in order to step up and look after those. I mean, this is the great thing about the United States, and that you have a lot of these groups taking care for the more vulnerable parts of society. So the way it is important that it comes now. It covers the areas where abuse was very rampant. And again, we need precise language. We need all of this in order to put faith in this, because as Professor Zhang said, the Chinese people have a very rich history of donating and helping other groups.
All right, gentlemen. And